Well, welcome everyone. My name is Jenny Geismar. I'm the Executive Director of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library Foundation. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's final draft, home edition. The Charlotte Mecklenburg Library Foundation exists to support the mission and vision of our library system by raising support in the profile of all the important work that our library system does. Tonight, we are really excited to bring you Paige and Jake Fehling. I also like to call them the cameos for Lindsey Vonn and Jason Sudeikis. Are they not just the most beautiful couple? But they're with us tonight to talk about their new book, Holy Crap, We're Pregnant, 10 years later. A little bit about Paige and Jake, if you do not know them, but they are quite a name in Charlotte. Jake is the Vice President of Marketing for Movement Mortgage, and Paige is the morning anchor for Good Day Charlotte on Fox 46. And together they host Date Night with Jake and Page podcast. They have 3 children, and the book just came out this year. I think it was a pandemic book, basically, because it's 7 years after your 3rd child. I like your procrastination.
Basically.
But our conversation host tonight is library trustee Ailen Arreaza. Ailen is also the North Carolina Program Director for Parents Together, a national nonprofit that provides resources and community to help kids and families thrive. Before joining Parents Together, she spent nearly a decade working on issues of equity and access for the city of Charlotte. In her role, she investigated allegations of housing discrimination and led citywide campaigns to educate Charlotte teens, particularly, that's a hard word, Latino immigrants, about their fair housing rights. So a quick couple housekeeping details for everyone. The chat box is open for other comments amongst attendees, or if you have questions for Library Foundation staff. We do want to take your questions for Paige and Jake tonight. So please use the cute question and answer function, not chat, so that Ailen can easily see those. For those with tickets that included a signed copy of Holy Crap, We're Pregnant, Park Road Books will ship that directly to you. If your ticket did not include Holy Crap, We're Pregnant, I just love saying that. You can stop by Park Road Books until April 5th and apply tonight's ticket price towards a copy of Fehling's books. Park Road Books will have your name on a list for that special offer. And now, welcome Paige and Jake Fehling and Ailen Arreaza.
Hi, we're so glad to be here.
So we're going to clap for everybody.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny. All right. Well, this was super fun to read. I think we were pregnant around the same time. So it made me reminisce about what it was like when I was pregnant the first time. And it reminded me of all the joys and travails of pregnancy. But I just what inspired you guys to write this book? And especially I loved that it was sort of from the two sides. Yeah. So Jake, also, why did you feel like you had to talk about pregnancy?
Good question.
What did you have to bring to this conversation?
Right.
Well, come on now. You know what I brought to the conversation? No. So Paige and I, just to give people an idea, it's a she said, he said look at pregnancy, all the different stages of the process. And yes, Paige did far more work than I did. But as we went through the process, we realized that all of the stuff, most of the stuff, was for mom. And it was just, I was reading books that she was reading. And so we said, well, look, we like to write. We think we have funny things to say. We know about pregnancy. Let's start a book that we won't finish for 10 years. And so, yeah, again, we both like to write a lot. And so we said, let's do this thing together. and go from there.
We decided, yes, and we decided to do it together but separately because, as I'm sure anyone can attest who's been through, anything really, right? But especially something like pregnancy, our memories of the way things happened and what happened were so vastly different. And we started off the process going, okay, let's write it together and we'll kind of collaborate on this. And he would go, well, I remember this happening. And I would go, no, this happened. And we were like, you know what? Let's both write what we think happened, the way we remember it without ever consulting each other. And then as part of the book also, we're going to include a part where we have reactions. So what we do each chapter as she said, then he said, and then basically we get to react and say like, well, you were wrong about this. Well, you were wrong about this.
This is exactly how it went.
And then somewhere in the middle, people get the real story.
Yeah, those were super fun to read. The reaction pieces at the end. So when did you start this book?
It would have been 2010.
Ish. Well, kind of, because it started. So when I was at a news station in Raleigh at the time, I was at the NBC station, and this was back when everybody, like all the heads of news, were going like, "What's an interweb? And what's a digital? And what's a blog?" Everybody do blogs. Blogs. That's what everyone needs to do is blogs. So they said, pick a thing and something you can write about consistently. And of course, when you're pregnant, like you think that the world revolves around your pregnancy because your world does revolve around your pregnancy. And you're like the first person to ever experience it. And you think everyone needs to like know every detail. And you're going to tell the world what it's like to be pregnant. So that's what I did for my blog. And he would jump on every now and then and guest blog. And people went, wait, this guy's really funny too. You know, we like it when he writes too. And people said, you should turn it into a book. And then a decade later, we actually got around to finishing it. Turns out when you actually have the kids, there's not as much time to write a blog or a book, we discovered. So
yeah, that does tend to happen. So the pandemic sort of like all this extra free time has inspired you to write it.
So Ailen, let me give you just a glimpse into the last 7 years. Okay. 6 months go by of no action on the book. And
there was plenty. We had 3 kids, okay? So there was plenty of action.
Well, no, post-action.
Okay.
And we'll be doing the dishes, cooking, whatever. And I'll go, babe, as if we've been talking about it, like in the moment. Babe, we have got to finish the book. And Paige go, I know. We've totally got to finish it. Let's finish the book. And then I write a chapter, and then she goes to sleep. And then I get frustrated, and I give up. Then all of a sudden, she's like, hey, I cut my nap short. I wrote 3 chapters. I'm like, wait, what? And then so I'm behind. And so then I'm catching up, trying to write chapters. It went on like this. I'm not kidding you. Probably 20 of those over 7 to 8 years. And then, the pandemic was definitely when we finished it, but we were like right at the finish line. And the pandemic is when we were like, all right, we hired what is called a book shepherd, a book shepherd to help us.
Book fairy, book shepherd is better.
Either way. Get it across the finish line. Her name's Sarah, and she is wonderful. And she helped us with all the stuff. And by stuff, it's like, get it, post it online everywhere. We got an audiobook coming soon. So we did all that stuff. That was like the final hurdle, which was massive. And yes, we cleared that over the pandemic.
Awesome. Well, that's so exciting. Like you can come out of this pandemic and be like, look, we did something. It was good.
Yes.
We did. It was banana bread and a book.
Well, that's the joke too, is we're like a lot of people, so many people came out of the pandemic with some kind of product, right? Like, so a lot of people got pregnant during the pandemic, and that's right. And Charlotte, the numbers, we just ran a story the other day. The numbers in Charlotte are up. People in Charlotte, it's not nationwide. There was somewhat of a baby bust to some extent, but in Charlotte, people really did do that. So
got after it.
People got after it. Yeah, listen, go Charlotte.
Go Charlotte.
I love this tweet that was going around that said, like, if there's a baby boom during the pandemic, it will only be of firstborn children.
Right.
Correct.
So true.
I saw the exact same tweet. That is so true.
Hilarious. But so I was reading it and I was thinking about sort of like, you said, you wrote this blog about being pregnant as if you were the first woman who's ever been pregnant. You were like sharing all your thoughts. And I was thinking about, I felt the same way when I was pregnant, and it's been 10 years and I read this book and I was like, oh, it's pregnancy has happened since the beginning of time. And it's always been like the same. and so different depending on like what time period you're living in or what society is going through. So I'm curious about like whether you see, like whether you think about like, oh, 10 years ago when I was pregnant, things were like this, and now they're so different. And especially in this pandemic, like if anybody's watching who's pregnant right now or who just had a baby, like what are some of the things that are the same and that might feel really different from them, do you think?
Okay, I have to share this. I just looked at, we were looking through things to bookmark, to pull up, and I bookmarked this picture because this is the perfect, exactly what you're talking about. One of the chapters we talk about, what's the title of the chapter? Oh, it's the Prego Police. So basically talking about how everyone, you think it's your job to tell everyone what it's like to be pregnant, right? Well, everyone else in the world thinks it's their job to tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing when you're pregnant. Like, do you need to be eating that deli meat? And like, do you need to, all these different things. So we put this one picture in. Hold on, where is she? I'm gonna hold it up, as you can see. That's Jake's Mimi. I think, which one's Mimi? Okay, that's Jake's Mimi and all of her children. She had 7 kids. And I remember Jake's mom telling me that she was pregnant, all through the 50s. And her mom said at one point, do you think I ever would have had 7 kids if I'd had to be sober the whole time? He said to his mom, oh, you can drink when you're pregnant. We drank all the time. You think I ever would have had all those kids if I'd had to be sober the whole time? And like, now I had like a glass of wine every now and then when I was pregnant. I was like, I can't imagine this is that bad. Like generation people in Europe still do it. But I mean, some people, you think that it's like the end of the world if you have deli meat without microwaving it for 45 seconds first. And by the way, crazy things happen. So like, I think that, I mean, the more people know, the scarier it can become sometimes. Now people are having to decide if they're getting a vaccine or if they're not when they're pregnant, right? Like that's the thing that we didn't ever have to deal with.
Are we going hot take on this? You just take the discussion into hot take territory?
To me, the bigger thing, like you said about pregnancy is not, I mean, it's always going to be largely the same, but the baby gear.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
The baby gear. And by the way, just for people that might have just seen this, this is called Final Draft, so please don't give me a hard time. I'm trying to be on brand with the Final Draft thing.
They're all drinking at home.
I hope
so. You, but you're all drinking at home.
I hope so. They're all pregnant and drinking. They're following your advice, apparently. The baby gear is out of control. So one of our neighbors is about to have their 4th under 5 years old.
Wow.
Again, 4 under 5. I mean, we went out with them this weekend, and we're like, oh, we got to take the car seats out of the car. Hour and a half. Took an hour and a half. Not really, but you get my point. I mean, it's endless and it's so fancy.
Have you seen the baby milk machines now? The bottles with either pumped milk or formula. It's like a baby cappuccino machine. You put it in, and it's there. I'm like, will someone give birth for you? Also, like, there is something for everything now.
Yeah. There's so much gear. Yes, my friends who are having babies now, I don't even know. I didn't have half the stuff they did. And I thought we had a lot, like, that's the other thing about having a baby. There's a lot of stuff that you acquire.
So much.
Well, that's one of my pieces of advice, actually. In one of the chapters we write about, I think it's called This Isn't Registering. And we talk about, because everyone asks when you have a baby, the next person to get pregnant goes like, what should be on my baby registry? And I quickly discovered I would look at whatever, 6 months after I had just given birth, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this is now. It's all changed. Find a smart friend, find a friend who like got straight A's, is like a CPA, like a super detail oriented, and then just steal their registry, because you will never do the amount of research and keep up with all the newest stuff, right, that's out there now. So just steal one.
Yeah. The other thing, so I loved your chapter on the baby's gender. I was also on team not finding out.
Oh, cool.
Love it.
Yes, it was so exciting to like find out in the delivery room. That's another thing that's changed a ton, like the baby gender reveals.
Oh my gosh.
Those are wild.
They're wild. Did we didn't do none of our the reveals were actually in the canal. What is that? Is that the actual word?
Out of the canal.
Out of the canal.
Wait, what? I like
for the gender reveal.
Oh, look at there. Look at that.
You're not with either one. Were you surprised both times?
No, I did. I found out with the second one because I wish I hadn't. If I could go back, I would have made it a surprise. I have 2 boys, and I guess we just wanted to prepare the older one to tell him you're having a brother or whatever. But you all found out with 2 and not the second, right?
Right. And
yes.
My fault. If you read the chapter on it, it was my call, and Paige saw through it immediately. He's like, I just want to know. And she's like, well, why do you want to know? I'm like, well, it's just paint. I want to know what color to paint. And she's like, paint? Are you going to paint? I said, no, I'm not. And yes, we opened it under the Christmas tree, and it was a huge letdown. It was definitely my fault. It was a mistake. I own that one. It was this huge letdown.
Just because then you know. And it's like, I mean, there is nothing. By the way, most people find out. I totally get it. It is, I don't know about you. I found it to be the most difficult thing in the world to wait. Like, I wanted to know every time. Not that I could have seen. If I had just seen the picture, it just looks like black and white blur of like clouds. I have no idea what I'm ever looking at in an ultrasound picture. But if they had told us, but there's, I mean, that feeling when you see like a part of a head and you still don't know who all is coming. I mean, it's just amazing. And then we had 2 boys to start off with. And then our third, we didn't know what the baby was going to be. And literally she came out and it was like, I was like, where's the penis on this one? Like, what happened to, what's going on? It was just,
There was not one.
There was not one. There was not one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. It is. It's like, there's so few like real surprises in life.
I think that's got to be I said it's life's last true surprise.
Yeah.
I said that. That was my quote.
So to everyone watching right now who's found out what their baby is, we're all judging you.
Yes, absolutely. You're missing out, FOMO.
Missing out on one of life's greatest surprises.
So just have another kid and then be surprised next time.
Holy crap.
Holy crap.
All right. So I wanted to talk about your chapter on information overload a little bit, because that, like you just mentioned the vaccine thing. And I remember like, I didn't know what my baby's sex was, but I had like Googled every possible thing that could go wrong. I had like just read all these books, like convinced myself of all these random things. And it was not helpful at all. And now I only imagine that it gets worse. Like there's even more information now out in the world. So what's your advice around that? Like what do you have to tell parents who are
dumb it down?
Googling frantically.
Dumb it down. What? Dumb the information down, like our book? Or
no.
What would you do as the mom? Is she saying?
I know. Well,
dumb yourself down.
Dumb yourself down. Yes.
Oh.
No. That chapter actually came about because some of our best friends, we always quote them because they start. Who knows? But they started when we were all in the window of having kids. They started every sentence with, "Well, studies show," or "I saw this thing on Facebook that said," and we were like, for the love, like
studies show.
At some point,
anyone else studies show? I don't know. Studies show, huh?
But we were like, I know why it came about too, because we had one. I think our oldest was born, and he was like 4 months old.
Yeah.
And I had to go in for snow coverage, and he couldn't stay home for something. And I was like, can you just see if somebody can come over? And we'll call him Bob. Came over. His name is not Bob. And he came over, and he's like a single dude. He at the time had no kids, and he literally planted our 4-month-old in front of Yo Gabba Gabba for like 17 hours straight in his little bouncy seat. I don't even think he changed a diaper. And guess what? Whatever. Because like, yeah, he's fine. He has like a 3-second attention span. It's probably not Bob's fault. He's 12 now. He'll grow out of it. But like I came home and he's like, yeah, he just did this all day. And for a second I was like, oh my gosh, they say no screens until you're 2 and no this and that. And then I was like, wait a second. Like I watched a lot of TV as a kid. Again, not that I'm the bar of like what should,
But by the way, now okay. Bob is a terrible parent.
Bob's
He's a terrible parent.
He doesn't know who he is, so we can say he's
also, side note, it's been canceled for years. If you've got a little kid and you're watching, find Yo Gabba
Yo
Gabba.
Gabba Gabba. Did you do that too?
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
I
love that show. The episode of Jack Black.
Yeah, oh my God.
It's the best thing in the whole world. Yes. So I knew I liked you.
It's such a good show.
I know.
Okay, so Paige, for you, what's like the best piece of advice that you would give pregnant moms or new moms, or that you've received? What do you have to?
Honestly, this is like my go-to, but I really do mean it. Include your baby daddy or your partner or whoever's doing this with you as much as possible, because it is no fun to feel like you're on a parenting island. And it's part of why we wrote the book together. It's part of why, like, I did read more information than probably Jake did in terms of like how to get the baby to sleep and how to do this and the stuff that would kind of include us both.
Yeah.
But I was also desperate to have somebody help when I wanted to, like, I remember greeting him at one point into my first maternity leave, and he walked in. I don't even know if you remember this night, but I do, because it ended with me literally locked in my closet on the floor with a bag of carrots and a bottle of Chardonnay and a thing of hummus, and just being like, putting earplugs in and be like, I can't hear that baby cry. I need him to just kind of going like, he'll figure it out. You know, like you don't necessarily, we just did an interview the other day with a baby sleep expert. And they talked about like, trust other people to know what to do with your baby too. If you have in-laws that are willing to help out, they kept your spouse alive at some point, you know, yes. They knew how to do this. Yeah. So like, to your point, not much changes over the generations in terms of the basics of how to like survive as a human. So, you know, trust accept help, ask for it if you need it, and be willing to just kind of look the other way when they're not doing it how you think they should.
Well, hold on. So you're now making me look bad, because when you went out, they said, what's advice do you have? And by the way, that's a teaser. We're being asked below. If you've got a question, drop it in the Q&A. We are going to get to all your questions. Drop it in the Q&A, not the chat. You know what? Either way, if you drop it in the chat too,
we'll find it.
But yes,
we'll find it. So we have some questions in the Q&A that we'll get to.
Okay. When you left the room, they said, "What's the advice?" And I used "create your own normal."
Well, that's our like marriage. That's our favorite.
It can also advice. It's transferable.
Yes. No, absolutely. Yes. Well,
create your own normal. Because if your baby's not sleeping, if whatever, and you're like losing your mind, like don't lose your mind, because it can get like scary. You're gonna say follow baby wise.
No, but just when you did say that, if there is one piece of advice, if I might weigh in on one parenting thing, it would be to get that kid to sleep. I am obsessed with sleep.
Yeah.
So if you can do anything that you can, that will keep everyone a little healthier.
Yes.
But,
sorry.
You know,
I shouldn't have gone to the sleep topic. Well, create your own normal.
That's a hot button one. We want.
Yeah.
So is that your advice, Jake? Create your own normal.
Absolutely, create your own normal. You know, it was really hard on me. You know, having babies and you know them wanting me so much there early on in the early state. I'm kidding. But yes, create your own normal is definitely the advice. The best advice we've ever been given. It was in the context of marriage, but truly it works everywhere, because you can get caught up, you know, keeping up with the Joneses, that whole saying. So it works in life, period. So that's just bonus. Forget just babies, create your normal.
And just to tie a quick bow on that too, going back to my judgmental comment about sleeping, what goes along with that too is create your normal in terms of if it really does work better for you to have the baby in a bassinet next to you or co-sleep with one of those safe, you know, bordered things, like do it. Do not worry about those stupid articles that you read that says your kid's never going to sleep alone. If you know what I mean? Like I had a friend one time call me and say, just remember these first couple months you are in survival mode. So do what you have to do to survive. And if that means stopping breastfeeding earlier than you were planning to, or co-sleeping when you weren't planning to, or whatever the thing is, create your own normal.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's like, sometimes we get hung up on these things that we hear that we're supposed to do. Yes. And it's like silly and little. And there's like just quick hacks that you can have that work so much better for your family. Like in our house, we don't wear pajamas. My kids don't wear pajamas. They just wear whatever they're going to wear the next day.
Oh gosh, I was assuming they're nude. Like, so we don't wear clothes at night. I'm like, oh, that's okay, great.
No, that's brilliant is what that is.
Yeah.
No, they so just, smart. You know, like they just get dressed for the next day and they go to bed and they get up and they're dressed already. And just,
I love that.
That makes sense. For us, it's pasta every night for dinner. We're not joking. If anyone has any recipes, please send them.
All right. Okay. Some questions from the Q&A.
Yeah.
TTW is their screen name. They want to know, what's your top 5 purchases of baby items? We were talking about all the gear, but what is something that has really been a game changer for y'all?
Boy.
Wow.
It's probably all obsolete now.
We are rusty. Well, I think you got to talk about Nose Freedom.
Oh my gosh.
It's got to still be there. What did you just look at the bookshelf to see if the baby toy was there?
I don't know why we don't have this still. It is, yes, I'm so glad you just said that. Can you describe it? I don't know how to say it.
It's Nose Frida, Nose Frida.
It's like Swedish or
it
something.
was gifted to us. Everybody does the like squeezable giraffe, and everybody does, the car seats, all kinds of stuff. This thing probably cost $1. Just fair warning, parental advisory, what we're about to get into, because this could really gross somebody out. Kids get stopped up, they get congested, there's snot everywhere. Look at her. She's like, where is this gonna go?
No, I know it.
Oh, you know it. Oh, okay, good.
Come on,
You put one end in the nose, and then the other end, this is gonna sound like, but
There's a filter.
You suck the straw, and it sucks the snot out of your kid's nose, and it sits inside of this tube. It doesn't actually go into your mouth. It doesn't go into your mouth, and you do both, and it is the most god awful, amazing thing ever.
He couldn't do it. I love like Dr. Pimple Popper. Do you ever watch those videos? Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Okay, there's like sickos like us in society that dig that and just you want to watch like really satisfying things. And there is nothing more satisfying than coming this close to sucking the actual brains out of your child's head, sucking their boogers out. And then they can breathe all night. And it doesn't get into your mouth because there is a filter for that, but it's designed so because they figure nothing else can be as strong, as that. So the nose Frida, Nose Frida.
Nose Frida, we didn't do this till the second kid, and we're going to officially date ourselves. But the bottle drying stuff, when we bought the like grass, the plastic grass. I remember the plastic grass with like all the little sticks coming out of it.
Along with that too, early on.
Steam bags.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. Oh,
Yes.
same page. So, except that steam bags are great for pumping equipment or for milk stuff. But if you're breastfeeding and you're pumping it all, a tip that a friend gave me one time too, because you spend your whole life, if you're not pumping, then you're washing the pumping stuff. If you just take them and stick them right in the fridge instead, like right after you're done pumping, or then it's the same as like you don't have to worry about disinfecting it because the fridge, keeps it fresh too. So or just running through the dishwasher, top rack of the dishwasher, rather than have to hand wash it every time.
Yes.
Or those steam bags.
That's right. We got rid of the steam bags to do the top.
There's
bags.
probably like literally a robot that does all this for you now, though. So I don't even know if any of this is.
I bet
helpful for anyone having a baby now.
Bag.
it's so fancy now. But I do. Okay, so I remember two things. I remember one, when pumping, I bought this like. Did you have this like bra that you could had
Hands-free?
and you put the thing on it, and you could be hands free.
Yes,
that was
magic, right?
That was really great. And then the other thing that I loved were the baby straight jackets, like the little swaddles.
Yeah, the swaddles.
With the Velcro, the ones that were like, they would get out of the regular swaddles. But
100% with the Velcro, and I could never get comfortable with them. Every night I'm like, babe, it's
like,
too tight.
I don't think they can breathe. I'm like, that's what they like.
Yeah.
Our kids were big too, though. So Jake and I are both very large people. So our kids were like these jumbo humans that they'd be like, it would literally be like Jake and like a swaddle, like our kids were like growing beards. Like
they'd wake up like this in the swaddle, like one arm would get out.
I'm trying to get out, but of course, for every person who swears by the swaddle, like us, there's people who say their kid just never liked it, and so you have to just buy a bunch of. It's like what's the throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
All right. Any other?
Oh wait, the wee PPTT, the wee TT or whatever. What's the wee TP? Do you remember those?
I remember those. We never had one, but we should have probably invested in one.
Your boy will pee in your face. So that was always. I love that too. You got to let the air, and then you throw the PPTP over so that they pee then and not
the TTPP. Okay, we're done with that. Sorry.
A washcloth works just as well.
Uh-huh.
All right. Ashley wants to know, what was the biggest surprise from each of your perspectives during pregnancy?
Ooh.
Biggest surprise. I don't know if it's surprise. By the way, no one cares what I have to say. They want to know like yours. My biggest surprise was how hard/terrible it was to go from 1 to 2 kids, and how easy it was, right? From 2 to 3. And so what I tell people all the time, because what I hear a lot of people say is 0 to 1, man. Oof, 0 to 1. I mean, that first kid, at that point our brains were around, like we knew things were going to get weird. 1 to 2 tested us. That's my memory.
Yes. They all tested me.
No, I for sure. But it was the man-to-man defense. I think surprised me at how much I liked my time. my right, personal time. And so now I just go to the bathroom for an hour and a half to get my time back.
So for me, I'll probably go more like actual, like, because we as the women are the ones experiencing the pregnancy. So just like the physical changes, I think. I mean, I was surprised by then something that I had heard about, that when it happens to you, you're like, wait, that's a thing. Like I got like a black line down the middle of my stomach. I forget what they call it. Do you remember what they call that?
I don't remember, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's a thing, and they say some women get it and some women don't. And I remember it showing up and just going like, what? That's so weird. And I mean, having to pee way from the very get-go early on, like 17 times a day and night. I don't know. I guess the rest.
Just the black line. Just that's it.
Well, everything else.
You acted like you had all this stuff happen.
Well, the kicking. I love I love the like crazy kicking and stuff, and being able to feel that. Except at night, because I feel like the baby always wanted to have like a dance party when you're trying to sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember reading about. Maybe I missed this part. Did you have any like crazy cravings or wild?
I definitely ate chocolate chip cookies with like every meal, but I think that I just like chocolate chip cookies in general. So for pregnancy, I used that. I was like, I don't know. The baby must like cacao. That's like what they say your body like craves what the baby needs. And I talked myself into somehow that being, but I didn't really have any of those like, weird. We have one friend who literally did crave dill pickles dipped in chocolate, which is like the most pregnant thing ever. Did you have anything like that?
I didn't, but I would get really hungry. Like I would go from 0 to like starving, and then it would make me really like emotional. I would like be like, I need to eat. I was so hungry. Like I was a starving child.
Yeah, like a dramatic hungry.
So my husband had to like immediately feed me. But he had some cravings. Chicken wings was a thing that he got really into when I was pregnant because.
Oh my God, I love him. No, that's a good husband right there. Who he's got to gain at least some of the weight with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody wants to know where they can get your shirts.
So Holy Crap Store and Holy Crap Books. You can get it both places. But here in Charlotte, some fun news.
Mm-hmm. They're now at Girl Tribe in South End. We have these t-shirts, and then we also have, so these say Holy Crap, We're Pregnant. And the idea with these would be that they would be like couples, like announcement shirts, people could post to social media or wear or however they want to. But some here, actually, there's some sitting right here. They literally this is not actually even on purpose. I just looked over. We have a stack of the things. So some of these say quarantine expansion.
Oh.
And then the arrow points to the mom's belly, and then the dad's, because dads always gain weight with the mama too, right? And then we have bibs and t-shirts that say, well, the bibs say my parents are bad at social distancing, and the t-shirts just say bad at social distancing with a big old pregnant belly. So there's lots of fun stuff out there.
Everybody loves
Thanks
a
for
good
asking.
Quarantine COVID joke, right? Just leave it to the Fehlings.
That's fun. Okay, so can I ask you about we're pregnant? It seems like you guys have embraced that phrase. Some people have a bone to pick with it.
Yes.
There.
What do you think about like? How do you feel about we're pregnant?
So if I'm telling someone, I 100% say Paige is pregnant.
Uh-huh.
I think that is, wow. You just hold on. This is a good question. So
Because we debated this.
I totally agree with you. And if we're just gonna let's just take a stand, right? I'm not gonna be Switzerland on this thing. So
yeah.
I think if a guy is saying, hey, we're pregnant, I would go, The book is weird because we both wrote it.
Right.
Which, you kind of got us there. You got me with that one. That's a really good question, but I think I got two answers in that.
But we don't, to your point, we're not of the mindset of like that's the thing to like, I would have like rolled my eyes and smacked him if he said that to someone like, we're pregnant. I'd be like, we're pregnant. It's just the title for the book because it's written from both of our perspectives. We are having a baby. We are starting a family. We are growing, etc. But
which, by the way, now thank you for planting the seed. Now I'm paranoid that people aren't going to buy it because they think I'm one of those guys.
No.
Oh, Ailen, what do I do?
It definitely makes sense in the context of the book because it's both parents.
But never say it outside.
I'm going to put a sticker on it. The super dad aware edition.
Okay, someone else wants to know, what is Jake's best advice to dads about pregnancy?
Ooh.
Yeah, so it was funny. I saw that pop up and I had an answer. And then all of a sudden we started, after 30 some minutes, we started talking about it. So we just started talking about was, guys, the pregnancy weight thing is for real, for real. Like,
I'm sorry?
no, me.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Gosh, wow. Sorry, me. For guys, you gaining weight. So I gained a significant. We look back at the pictures of me during it. We're like, oh dear, wow. Yes. So I gained what, 20 pounds?
so what's your advice? To not,
No,
not get, or to do it?
I'm getting there. It's the advice is to watch yourself, because you will get sucked into pizza every night. I'm just being honest with you. It is delicious. The second piece of advice, to make it a little more serious, is you say I didn't read anything. I read, there's a book, I can't remember the name of it, but it looks like the guy's got seersucker shirt.
It looks like a suit jacket, right? On the front of the book?
But it's a seersucker shirt, and then it's got plastic keys in the pocket.
Mm.
And that book was bearable, which that's honestly part of the reason why we wrote this book, is just like, let the dads have some fun and some say and just engagement in this whole thing. A lot of the books for guys are super cringy. That book was not. And then I read, and I think she's actually, her career has gone a different direction, but her name was Deuce. Her name is Deuce. D-O-O.
I know, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she wrote a book about pregnancy that you bought for me, that she knew that I liked her style of writing. So I read that one too. And then I read one other. I didn't read What to Expect, but I read those three at the beginning. And like, we joke about not trying to give serious advice, all that kind of stuff, but it for sure helped me, learn, because Paige isn't going to just be like, hey, Jake, come sit next to me and let me tell you exactly what's happening in my pelvic region. Like, we didn't have those conversations all the time. The book helped with that, which let me relate to her as we got into like closer to the finish line.
I mean, it's hard for dads, I would imagine, right? Because I was talking with some friends the other day, and we were saying the only thing that exists in the world as a truly complete parent is in a lesbian couple where one has carried, and they have played both the role of carrying the child and not carrying the child, because they understand what it's like to be the pregnant one and to also be the not pregnant one who kind of has to stand back and go like, okay, this is a thing we're doing, but like, you're really doing all the stuff. So it's like it's a hard, that's part of, back to what you were saying before, why we wrote the book and the way we wrote it together, because we're hoping that couples can also kind of read it together, and like dads have someone telling it from their perspective too, so that they're maybe a little bit more involved and interested.
Yeah. Okay, so facts, tips, and advice for dads to be, is that the book? The Expectant Father, Facts, Tips, and Advice for Dads to Be?
I think so.
Oh, I think it is.
Good call, Amy.
Yes, that book was solid for sure. And I gave them all away, right, to my buddies that ended up their wives getting pregnant. I almost said getting pregnant. That was a good one. I do recommend that. I couldn't tell you a thing about it, but I do remember liking it a lot.
So we've talked a lot about pregnancy, but for me personally, like the first month, that was like, there were a lot of surprises there. And a lot of
trimester.
The first month of like the baby being born.
Yeah.
And you have a little bit of that in your book towards the end. But I'm curious about like, what advice do you have for like people who have new parents, or for folks who are about to have a baby? What was most surprising, or what do you have to share?
Could you hear what he said?
Still go out to dinner. The first month, now look, I know that not everybody's first month afterwards is different, but in a non-pandemic world, still go out. Like, they just sleep. They sit there the whole time. You can actually really, do you want to go to a movie? And we would go to movies and dinner, and it quickly ended, but you kind of get a little bonus time.
Like, babies kind of ease you in, a lot more than you realize, because you're asleep so much. I mean, but also it's your first baby, so you don't quite appreciate that as much, because you're like trying to learn all the different things. But even if I will say this too, even if you are not going out, in terms of still going out with each other and getting creative, again, back to the create your own normal, even if you're like spending time together and taking a date together is just like the kids in the bassinet in the other room, and you go and intentionally sit down for 10 minutes and just talk to each other about whatever. Maybe it is about the kid. Like, well, I'm not one to subscribe to the whole, like, don't talk about the kids. Like, whatever. If that's your one time to kind of catch up and do that, but sort of being sure to keep each other still a priority too, I think is a really good thing to set from the beginning. And that is a good one too. The earlier, I don't know about you, I think Ford, our oldest, was, gosh, I know not everyone can do it this early, but I think he was 5 weeks maybe when I left him with Jake's parents for the first time to go see Jake. And it was so much harder than I thought it would be, but I'm so glad I did it early, because I realized, like, the longer you wait, the longer you get in your head about how hard that, you know what I mean? So I think that if you're able to, and you're comfortable with it, like giving yourself some separation time from the kid also when you can, is a good thing to do, because it makes it, don't you think?
Totally.
Wait, we have one. That reminds me, one quick story. One of our friends, it was like a friend's sibling, and she had her first baby, and she went, it was like one of those things, like the dad came home and he's like, go get your nails done. Like, just get out of the house. You're good. You'll feel better. And she was like, it was so hard for her. And she like, okay, I'm going to go. I will get my nails done. So she left. The kid was like maybe a month and a half old. She goes, gets her nails done. She's driving back home. And as she's driving down the street, do you remember this, Emily's sister? She's driving down the street and she sees her husband jogging.
Oh my gosh.
Out for a jog down the street. And she pulls up next to him and she puts the window down. She goes, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm going for a jog. What? You were getting your nails done? And she goes, and she looked at him, and it's like it like occurred to him. He was like, oh my God, the baby. And they both like booked it. Like, I don't know if this happened to you, Ailen, but I was like, I kind of get that. Like, it's like for us, until that kid is like up and talking and moving, like for a second, you can almost like forget, wait, we've had the baby already. Like, there's a human here, because it's just asleep. And it was she said that and we just almost died. I was like, oh my God, he'll never live that down. But I can totally see how it happened. I'm sure Dad can't even more.
And by the way, it just happened to me like a week ago. Like, I went into work and I went to go grab a bite and I'm sitting there eating and I went,
where are the kids?
The kids are home. Wait, they probably just walked into the house and went, okay, I guess Dad's just not here today because I'm working from home. And I'm like scarfed the rest of my lunch and drove home and I'm like, hey. And then of course now they're at the age that they're like, meh. It's not even words. It's just like, meh. And I'm like, what? You know what? I'm going to go back to lunch. So it just you never quite figure it out.
Well, I agree. Like the first few months, they're just a lump. They don't move very much. Yes. They don't get into any trouble. I mean, they need to be nursed if you're nursing, or fed constantly and changed and all of that. But in a way that, I mean, it can be hard, but it's a lot easier, because I remember I was able to like put the baby down and take a shower or do this or that, and then when they started moving, I couldn't do any of that because they were touching everything and trying to jump off the stairs and do all kinds of mischief. So yeah, for sure, it's much easier. Some there's parts of it that are easier when they're younger. Okay, I have one last question, and then I would love for you guys, and then if there's more questions, drop them in the Q&A. We have some more time for a few more cues. And then I would love for you guys to read an excerpt from your book.
Cool.
Oh, look at the visitor.
Oh, hey there.
Hi. Hi, buddy.
Sorry.
Come on, let's go.
Oh, there we go. That looks very, very familiar.
Anyway, those were babies once. Can you believe
that? I know.
Okay, so if you could do anything differently, what would you do?
So, if we could do anything differently, what would you do?
Gosh.
I thought you were going to ask us the pets question. I was ready to answer the what about pets.
Oh, well, that actually is an interesting thing.
Pets.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
If you're thinking about having kids, don't get a pet. Hot take?
That is a hot take.
Come on, lean in.
I think I do agree, because what I was going to say is maybe we would get a dog earlier.
Oh my gosh.
So cute when little itty bitties have a dog too. But we waited until our youngest was 5, and I'm glad we did, because it wasn't like we had to.
I feel like that's the only thing we get judgy about, is like when we walk in and there's like a young couple.
We're judgy about other stuff.
No, we're not. A little bit. And we see a young couple, like we know they're probably gonna want to start having it, and they're like, "Oh, we just got a new labradoodle," and we're like, "You're an idiot," because that is basically a kid. That's basically a kid.
Yeah.
You're not an idiot. I'm sorry if there's someone that just.
So that's just another thing.
Buy our book.
Right.
Great.
That's just another thing we did right, I guess. So what we would do differently.
But now we got 2 dogs, and gosh, they're the best with kids. Now the kids are getting older. What do you miss and not miss about the first year? Or we do something
snuggles.
So would you have snuggled more? Would you do that differently?
Well, maybe not the first year. I mean, yes, no, the first year I was full of snuggles, but ours are getting to, I think, Ailen, we're sort of in similar boats. Our oldest 2, and my boys, they're 12 and 11 now, and like they'll still like humor me with a hug, but it's not like they want to like I would just like still wear them in a baby Bjorn if I could.
Yeah.
So I miss that a lot.
That would be hilarious.
Yes. Oh, she's got a yellow Facebook quick. Hold on, let her.
Did you hit him with mom voice? Hey guys. Hey guys.
Turn it down. What about you, Jake? What do you miss?
What do I miss about our kids being young in the first year? This is going to be so random. You're going to think this is so random. I miss pushing them in the jogging stroller.
Oh, I can see that.
That's like we just, obviously we had not seen these questions before this, so we're trying to answer this on the fly. That's the first thing that came into my mind. Isn't that crazy?
We did a lot of that.
We ran, so that was like part of us hanging out. And we would run 5Ks, 10Ks. We were even running half marathons and stuff at one point. Who were those people?
I know.
Who were those people? But pushing them in the double stroller and the single stroller and watching them like fight and cry or whatever, of course, in the moment was the worst thing ever. But now looking back, I mean, this is pretty raw. Like that was the first thing I thought of. So there you go.
It's true. What's that saying about parenting? The days are long, but the years are short. Like it's when you're in the thick of it, it seems so, it's so hard. And then you look back and you're like, oh my God, it was like that. That's one thing I often tell new parents too. And I think someone said it to me at one point, but this too shall pass. So if they're doing awesome at first and like they latch and they sleep through the night and they're just a good, easy baby, fabulous. But don't freak out if all of a sudden they turn into the devil child in the middle of the night and teeth start coming in and they don't, that will pass too. And then they'll be easy again for a second. And then don't get too used to that because that's going to pass too. And they're going to all of a sudden, be on screens instead of wanting to talk to you. So it's like all of it is just kind of like, don't sweat the bad stuff too much, but don't get too, don't go high stepping like you're the best parent around. And it's so easy if they're going great too, because they can turn on you like that.
Yep. That's the truth. Okay, do you guys want to read an excerpt from the book?
Sure. We're going to read chapter 3, Seeing Signs. And so you'll quickly figure out what that means.
Okay. So we'll read a smudge of each of our
So we're going to remember, Paige writes her take, I write my take. We did this blindly, and then we each read and react.
All right. So this is chapter 3, Seeing Signs, she said. First of all, let me just say, we have already screwed you over with the title of this chapter. Why? Well, because you should never be looking for a plus sign. You should instead be looking for something much clearer. You should be looking for something that blatantly and very clearly tells you you're pregnant. You should be looking for something that reads, pregnant? If someone had tipped Jake and me off on this, we would have saved at least $1,048 on at-home pregnancy tests. The thing is, as the boxes say, a pregnancy test will tell you you're pregnant as early as 5 days before your missed period. But as it turns out, there is such a thing as being only a little bit pregnant, or at least having just a little bit of the pregnancy hormone. And if you, like me, want to know you're pregnant, the minute the tadpole makes it inside the jellyfish, you will pee on a stick just early enough to thoroughly confuse the both of you. I think the first time I peed on a stick, our first go around, I was due for my period within the week. I bought a 3-pack pregnancy test at CVS the night before and downed 17 glasses of water on my way to bed so that I would be sure to be able to pee in the morning, which is when they say that the pregnancy hormone is the strongest. So after 5 nighttime pee sessions, I officially woke up at 6 a.m. with another full bladder and practically knocked the poor little stick out of my hand with my Niagara Falls pee stream.
Oh boy.
The one we bought had a test line that shows you the test is working. 2 lines, pregnant. 1 line, not pregnant. No blue lines, faulty test, or you did it wrong and are officially too stupid to reproduce. And it goes on from there.
So a lot of period and peeing in that one. We lost the participant.
It's a book
so I
about
think you
pregnancy.
ran off.
Oh boy.
There was a man on here, and I think we just ran him off.
Okay.
Come back, John.
That was a snippet of that.
Come back, John. That was
Come
just
back,
half
John.
of it. So you decided to start trying, and I mean trying. Now what? It's time for the stick is now what? The pregnancy test pee stick. About 6 inches long, this unassuming piece of plastic can literally rock your world, change your life, eat you for dinner, and spit you back out in 3 minutes flat. 3 minutes flat, that is, assuming you have 20/20 vision. Let me explain. The stick comes in 1 million shapes, sizes, and price points. You could buy one that shows a plus sign or one that pops up a second parallel line. You can buy digital versions that, when positive, flash, oh snap! Or you can get one that, when programmed, plays a frantic video message from your overexcited in-laws. What did we go with? Well, we pulled the trigger on the generic model from CVS that looked like it was whittled by a 4-year-old, because of course we did. One night, about a month after we bought the stick, the time had come. We figured, what the hell, let's get our pee on. We agreed to run the test the next morning and let the cards fall where they may. The alarm was set for 7 a.m. My goodness, did we really have to set an alarm to wake up by 7? Do you remember those days?
Mm-mm.
And we fell fast asleep with visions of triplets dancing in our heads. To hear the rest of the story, tune in. All right, and so now we react.
Oh, we read the well.
Let's do the reaction. Come on.
Yeah, that's the best part.
There we go. Okay, so some of this may not make sense because it'll be stuff in the chapter that we didn't talk about here. But okay, my reaction to what he wrote, and by we were scared. Beepless says the real word in the book, but for the PG version of this, Jake does not mean both of us. He was apprehensive with a side of cautiously pleased, obviously excited, but also realistic and responsibly thinking of the life changes we need to make over the next 9 months. I, on the other hand, was off the charts elated, and one of the stupider people around, thinking only of warm, cuddly babies and nothing of sleepless nights, vaginas that tear in half, and bleeding nipples.
Oh my God.
Thank goodness children have 2 parents.
Don't you want to buy the book? What a cluster that morning was. And to think, once we'd finally determined that we were pregnant, I bolted out the door for work. I can only imagine what everyone in the office thought. Deer in headlights. Wow, Jake must have misspelled a word in that press release this morning. He looks like hell. Yeah, either that or he and Paige just blew through 2 boxes of pregnancy tests, riding a roller coaster of emotions so bizarre that Jake can't possibly see straight, let alone realize he's wearing mismatched shoes. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to go with the press release. And that, bantering back and forth, we found to be by far the best part of this whole process. We just recorded the audiobook and it's coming out in like 2 or 3 weeks. And the best part was we would read and read. I don't know if like anybody listening or you, Ailen, are into audiobooks as well, but when you get the author to read it, I've had a couple where they get in it, they correct themselves, like, oh, I should have written it this way, or actually I'm wrong, or time has passed and now it's like this. You get a little behind the scenes. And so we did that with each other, which made it so much more fun. But also we tipped off, I feel like, our reaction chapters because we were reacting live. And then we got to the reacting chapters. We're like, wow, 10 years later, we reacted the same exact way. So that's coming in a couple weeks. And it was so fun.
Oh, that's fun.
That's awesome. Okay, so one last thing I wanted to talk about is the library's Bookmark the Town campaign, which is it's an awesome campaign the Library Foundation is doing, where they're selling yard signs. I think they're $15 for the Library Foundation, where folks can write their book recommendations and put it in the yard. So you guys are getting a sign soon. So what book recommendations do you have? And if you have a children's book that you really love, I'd love to hear it too.
Oh, Jake's cheating. That's an obvious one. Oh my gosh. Can I say 2? I can't pick a favorite. It's like picking a favorite child. And these are just like in my mind right now because I'm just now either reading them or just finished them. For a fictional novel, The Book of Longings. I'm about to finish up right now, which is wonderful. If anyone's read it, it's written from the perspective of who would have been Jesus's wife. And it's just this fascinating, really cool. And I honestly don't know and can't tell if the author is a Christian or not. But so it's not like a religious book. It's just it's a story. It's really cool. It's beautifully written and a wonderful story. So that's a fictional novel. And then I also just love memoirs. And I just read one. Hold on. By Bakari Sellers, who lives here in Charlotte. He and his wife live here in Charlotte. He's a CNN correspondent and a former South Carolina representative. It's called My Vanishing Country, and it's his take on growing up in a poor Black community of South Carolina, and it's really cool because it's kind of local, but he also ties in a lot of national stories in his story and everything. So those are my 2. Sorry, I cheated. I could have picked just one.
Yeah, and so if 14-year-olds are considered children,
Yes.
yes, then we just actually had Michelle Icard on our Icard. Gosh, why I have
It's
like
hard to say.
Michelle Icard on our podcast, and she wrote a book. Her kids are now in college, called 14 Talks by Age 14. And look, you know what I said to her, I was like, no one's gonna remember 14 Talks, so like, give me the headlines. And so one of the things she said was brief. Like, it's the brief method, and she uses the brief method throughout the book. And it's basically just like, I'm not going to be able to remember what all those letters stand for on the fly, but I'm is interview. So like, as a parent, I go straight to interviewing. Like, well, who was there? What did they say? Right? What did your teacher say? When does it due? When does that paper due? And so there's clearly a B and an R. There are 2 steps before the I. And so it like helps you get through the conversation. And so I thoroughly enjoyed talking to her. I know you did too. And it's just fun to hear someone that isn't just all jokes and making light of things. Like, it's actually good to hear from a professional every now and then.
Sometimes you have to like actually parent. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
helpful.
right?
Yeah, she's a really good one, apparently. So it was good to get advice from her.
Yeah.
Oh, look who's back.
Hey,
There she is.
Jenny.
Man, I'm kind of like, I want to be your friend. I need to come and live by you.
You
And
wanna be? I thought we
Yeah,
were
you
friends.
I thought this was just happening.
this was one of the just most entertaining evenings. And as I shared, my wife and I are adopting, and she could hear me chuckling out here when you were talking about the nose Frida, because she would be like she would gag. There's no way she would do that. And I'd be all about nose Frida because I, like you, Paige, love pimple popper.
Oh, I know.
There were,
I know.
Isn't that
I
crazy?
know
Ailen
it's
was
a sick thing, but I own it, and I'm really proud of it. So, you guys were incredible. I wish you much success on your book. Charlotte is really lucky to have you two here.
Oh, thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing, and you really should think about doing stand-up as well, because your chemistry and everything about you is just really great. So thank you for being with us tonight. Ailen, you are just wonderful. And thank you for hosting tonight and for that all you do as a library trustee. So it's a full-time job lately. So I appreciate all the work you put into what we do. And everyone, remember to check out Ailen's organization at parentstogether.org for a ton of great information, especially you can learn how to talk to your kids through tough topics, to ways to make virtual learning better for your child, healthy eating, policies that affect children and families, and much more. So thank you guys. I'd love everyone to stay in touch with us at foundation.cmlibrary.org, and we'll get your sign to you guys. And anybody out there, please do pick up Bookmark the Town sign. Well, thank you guys. Have a great
Thanks, guys.
night. Thank you, everyone, for joining
Eileen's
us.
kids. Good night, Eileen's kids.
Thanks, Ailen. You're awesome.
Delete it.